Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be talking more about Vladimir Putin's speech at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. And we only have a few more chapters of this saga to go, and it's been very rich in information. The multipolar world order, which Vladimir Putin is one of the leaders of, has been very explicit in what his goals are and what his vision for the future is. And so let's dive in and further understand exactly what the world is going to be like under this new multipolar world order. I believe last time we cut off just getting into the real economy, and I'm assuming it's the real economy versus more the financial economy. So we'll see what he has to say about that now.
Dynamics have been demonstrated by the Chechen Republic, Rostov, Serato, Kostroma regions, the Malonyanitsky Autonomous District, as well as Zabaikalsky Krai. Congratulations are in order to my colleagues. I wish them further success. Another avenue of the supply economy is raising the efficiency of the real sector and the services, raising labor productivity in Russia through removing bottlenecks, eliminating bottlenecks. All of that can be described by the term lean production. Starting from 2019, we have been implementing the labor productivity national project that encompasses around.
So things like lean production and removing bottlenecks from the systems. If you have been in an MBA program or gone for a graduate degree in industrial and organizational psychology, you know that he's talking in a very IO psychology way. And you don't really see that from Western leaders. You don't see that type of perspective of how do we make things more efficient, how do we add more redundancy in the system, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just really interesting to hear someone talk about essentially my field like this.
6,000 enterprises, more than 88,000 employees have already learned new methods of work. This is already producing some good results in defense industry in particular.
So new methods of work, that could be things like upskilling, retraining. Upskilling is just like learning new things in your profession that advances you. Retraining could be if your industry kind of disappears, training people to pivot to some other type of industry. And really, you need your leaders to talk about things like this because it's happening. I mean, AI, I think my field in particular, I've gone to some of our national conferences, and I think my field in particular understands AI, but I also think that they're too optimistic in terms of people still being able to have jobs after AI becomes really big. There will still be some jobs, maybe, for human beings, but it seems like AI is able to do far more than what I think really most people think, and even what most IO psychologists think. People have said, well, yes, AI takes away jobs, but they create more jobs than they take away. Well, not really. I mean, and not only that, so part of it is we are just more optimally utilizing the entire resources of the planet. And so there's more jobs created that way. But that's a finite amount of jobs there, just like extracting resources from the planet, things like that. And I think it's important to recognize that, yes, jobs have been created whenever things like industrialization has happened in the past. But all the jobs that have been created involve more, it's more complex jobs. And so it involves more training. And I like to say, and I used to say this to my students too, is back within some people's living memory, that's how recent it was, you could get a living wage with just a middle school education. You'd like work on your family's farm, something like that. You'd go into a factory with a firm handshake and get a job there as a manager eventually and things like that. Like there were ways with a middle school education you could get a good job in the West. Then, within a few years, it was a high school education. And then, within a few years after that, a blink of an eye, a generation maybe, you needed at least a bachelor's degree. And that's what my generation, the millennial generation, was told. They need a bachelor's degree in order to succeed. And when we got done with our bachelor's degree, they're like, well, actually, you need to go on for higher education too, because everyone has a bachelor's now, because everyone else took our advice. And so we are quickly coming to the point where you need at least a master's degree to make a living wage. And then in most fields, not even a master's degree is enough. You need a terminal degree, which is a doctorate. And then you have to be a lifelong learner and continue to train yourself, go for continuing education for the rest of your life. And so you have to have a lifelong learner mindset. But eventually, and it's quickly becoming the case, really, even if you spend the entirety of your life learning and doing nothing else, not investing in other aspects of your life, AI is going to learn faster than you. And so that comes to an end at some point. Like, we are already at the point where if you want to be successful, you essentially have to study and practice for the entirety of your life. You're not going to like learn a craft and just kind of sit on it forever. You have to continue to advance in order to continue to make a living wage, because jobs are just being cut out from underneath us due to AI and automation. Well, what's the solution to that? Well, I talked about this a lot in my classes, but people have to invest in other parts of their lives. After the Industrial Revolution, and particularly in this kind of modern capitalistic exploitative economy, people have made their jobs their lives, and they don't have families, they don't have friends outside their jobs, they don't have hobbies, they just have their job and sometimes things to like temporarily distract them from their job, and that's their life. And maybe they'll get a little bit of sleep in between. And so people need to reinvest in other aspects of their lives. But what does it mean for the world if we pivot away from people needing to work in order to keep growing the world? And I think we're going to get there with AI and automation. I mean, some of the things that AI is doing now, we just never thought it'd be able to do, or we thought it would be really difficult to do. Speech recognition showed leaps and bounds within the last couple decades, and we thought that would be like impossible because there was no progress there. Large language models, you're seeing with ChatGPT how impressive those are. And so I think it's really important. I kind of went off on my tangent because this is one of my big topics, because my main point is Vladimir Putin talking about this stuff means that he's conscious of the fact that people need to constantly be training and relearning and innovating and things like that. So that's great. But I think a larger point I do want to make is the world has been split based on people's ideology around work. What does it mean when there's not really jobs anymore that people have to do? I mean, we're already coming up with things like universal basic income because a lot of people just can't compete for jobs given things like, unfortunately, their IQ level. But I mean, just putting that aside for now, because everyone's going to be out of a job soon, or most people are going to be out of a job soon. What do we do? What do we do at that point? Because when you look at the Cold War, it was capitalism versus communism. And when you look at World War II, it was communism and capitalism versus fascism. And really, when you think about this, these are just different ideas about people's perspective on the world of work and things like who should take prominence. Should it be the capitalist, or should it be the workers, or who should be dominant? Should it be the big business interests, or should it be the government, right? And so you have to think about this, because in the lifetime of everyone alive now, people have fought over work, their perspective on work. That's been, I would say, one of the most what's the word I'm looking for? It's been one of the most unspoken fights, because we mask it in things like talking about capitalism, communism, but in reality, people are fighting about their perspectives on work. And what happens when AI and automation take that away? Well, at least we have leaders like Vladimir Putin who are considering that fact, who are figuring out ways to keep their people as competitive as possible for as long as possible. So let's dive right in for a little bit longer. I was off on a tangent for a while. Hopefully you found that interesting, because I think that's one of the few things that I'm talking about that no one else is really talking about. And part of that is just my difference in perspective on AI and automation than other people. I don't think it's just going to support or remove some of the monotonous aspects of people's jobs, I think it is legitimately going to take away the majority of people's jobs, and the jobs that are created in its place are going to involve so much education that you're going to be in school for the rest of your life and still not be competitive for a lot of those jobs. So it's a weird conundrum that we're entering in.
Particular, it helps us improve the output of weapons and military equipment. Lean production is gaining momentum, not just in the basic sectors of the economy, but in social sphere, and we need to use the Federal Competences Center to that end. Its mandate has to be expanded. Another avenue is automation and AI. Due to objective demographic processes, Russia will see a decrease of supply in the labor market, and that is why we need to raise the rate of automation in manufacturing, mining, agriculture, transport, logistics, trade, and other fields.
Okay, so this is my first reaction to this video too, so I haven't seen these parts. It's not like I'm planning out what I'm saying. So hearing him talk about specifically automation AI after just speaking about needing to help reskill and upskill workers, retrain people, et cetera, tells me that he's very aware of the things that I'm saying right now. So bravo to him.
Russia has a great potential as well as its own efficient domestic solutions. Just recently, KAMAZ unmanned vehicles were launched in the federal highway Neva, and in Moscow there are unmanned taxis launched by Yandex, but these are singular examples. We need to implement these technologies on a mass basis. In November last year, we talked about introducing industrial robots, and we agreed that the government would adopt the decision by July the 1st, and I urge you to strictly abide by this deadline. Another important issue is the data-driven management. This approach has to be adopted ubiquitously in transport, communications, medicine, education, and administration, and so on and so forth. We need to use this groundwork. We need to use Russian-grown software in big data, launch projects in AI, and of course, we need to reinforce our information security, and we have to make sure that the data circulation does not...
Okay, I'm going to cut it off here because he's getting into a lot of content that is like right up my alley, and so I want to split this up into multiple videos because, man, this is interesting just hearing him talk so passionately about AI and automation and using big data solutions, or considering big data and using data-driven management. I mean, there's just so much there that is really at the cutting edge of my field, and hearing him talk about that means that he's really aware of, I would say, the most important solutions to the problem of Russia. So just really hype stuff we're getting into right now. He was getting into, like, the last couple of videos we've commented on, he was really getting into the minutia of, like, inspections, which I'm like, all right, I understand. It's important to understand that. But, like, now we're talking data science and, like, really hype topic. I love talking about it. So hearing him talk about it, great stuff. Anyways, we'll be back more in a couple days. The next video will be scheduled probably to talk more about data science, AI, automation. But if you like this video, please actually give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We're constantly growing. I don't know how many of you know this, but like, I was not expecting to see so much success so quickly. I'm still in like the practicing phase, so like this is just me like getting used to presenting in front of a camera. I don't have all the tech equipment I want and stuff like that yet, and I don't have a good workflow system yet and all that. But like I was just kind of practicing, and we kind of blew up as a channel. I've had over 6,000% increase in watch time from the prior 28 days to this current 28 days of time. So really massive improvement, and that's all thanks to you guys upvoting me, subscribing to our channel. We have a lot of stuff coming for you, so keep watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.